Hi, friends. Dave Gudger with you. I hope things are going well in your life, and especially in your relationship with Jim, the things you guys talk about, the things that you're focused on, praying about. So much good can come out of your conversations. And I'm just excited to give you a little pointer here and there that maybe could be helpful. One of the things that I've fought over the years is the thought of giving up. I mean, so many times things are just so difficult, and it may be that way in your life right now, where you're just trying to get through it, especially at this time of year. Just if we could just get to the summer, we get a little bit of a respite and holiday, and things will be better then. But there's always this constant battle. We're pushing back the kingdom of darkness. And so the challenge is always there. And the possibility of giving up is always something that could come our way. In fact, I believe that's why the scripture speaks to the subject. And I, over the years, have found much help in specific scriptures. I want to give you just today three scriptures that have been an encouragement to me. I've memorized them, I've come back to them time and time again, and it's been helpful in keeping me in the race. I mean, now for 40 years, after having been a lead pastor in three different churches, I've still not given up. Now, right now, I'm serving churches and pastors in a whole network of churches, but I'll tell you, I still find the challenge from time to time of saying, I don't know if I can continue to do this. At my age, should I continue to do this? And I keep coming back to the fact that as long as God opens the door and He gives me the opportunity and the health to serve him, I want to be faithful to serve him. I want to finish the race that he has put before me. And so I have found much comfort in his scripture, and verses like these have been a real comfort to me. Maybe they'll be a comfort to you. I've come back to Galatians chapter 6, verses 9 and 10 many times, where it says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." I mean, you can't see a harvest if you don't continue to sow and to cultivate that harvest. And ultimately, Lord willing, in time, not in the same season, but in a different season, there's a harvest that will come. And the scripture goes on and says in the next verse, so in light of the possible harvest that could come out of the good work that you are doing right now, Paul says, so therefore, as we have opportunity, as God gives us the privilege of serving him, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. Don't give up, because God could use you to produce fruit in miraculous ways. He wants to work through your life, but he can't do that if you give up. So let's continue to do good, especially to the believers that we have the privilege of ministering to, who are a part of God's family. And of course, he's not limiting this to just believers, but he's saying there should be some special focus in our lives of doing all that we can for the family of God. I've also over the years found encouragement in 1 Corinthians 15:58, where it says, therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your toil is not in vain in the Lord. I love the fact that he calls it toil. It's work. It's going to be hard. It will be difficult. It will be challenging. It will be the kind of thing that will make you just want to walk away from it and say, I think I'm going to go do something else, something easier. But Paul says, no, we can't give up. We got to be steadfast, immovable, always doing the work of the Lord, and not just doing it, but abounding in doing the work that God has for us to do. All the while, as we do that, we need to constantly remember that this toil is not in vain. We are serving the Lord, and the Lord is working through us. And so we're talking about kingdom work that potentially has the eternal impact possibilities connected to it. And then I've also found so much comfort in Hebrews chapter 12, verses 2 and 3 over the years, where it says, let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him, endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. In other words, Jesus did what it was that he came to do. He didn't give up. He continued to work through whatever came his way, whether it was the cross of crucifixion, whether it was the shame and scorn that came his way. All of that led up to him now sitting at the right hand of God. He never gave up. He did what he came to do, what God called him to do. And then it says in the next verse, verse 3, so consider him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that you may not grow weary and lose heart. We work in the midst of a world that is filled with sin, and sinful things are done against people that are trying to do that which is good, that which is godly, that which is right in the eyes of God. And for us to be able to do that work faithfully, we must, as the writer of Hebrews is saying, we must endure. We can't grow weary and we can't lose heart. So we come back to Jesus again and again and again, and we consider him, and we set before our our work his example, and we give our very best to doing what it is that God has called us to do. So, in other words, instead of giving up, we need to keep looking up to Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who, for the joy set before him, endured the cross. Now, I don't know where you are right now in terms of hanging in there and doing the work that God has called you to do, but you could be somebody who frequently is challenged to continue that work in such a way that you could possibly be saying to yourself, I'm done. I'm not going to continue doing this. I can't do this any longer. Well, the scripture would say, but you can. You can through Jesus' strength, through God's strength, by contemplating the good that is being done, and the seeds of the gospel that are being sown, by calling to mind that the Lord endured the cross, he endured the persecution, and as a follower of his, we can do the same through his strength by following his example, by continuing to be steadfast and immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. You know, I think in some ways it could get easier in that we see what God has done over the years, and we could come back to that again and again and say, I can't give up. I must go on. God is working. I've seen him work in the past. He's working in the present. He wants to use us. I want to be a part of that good work that he's doing. The work that is difficult right now, I'm going to entrust to him. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue to press on and seek his will so that he is glorified and it's for the good of others. And so I just want to say that the next time you feel like giving up, now's a good time to think about what you will do to help you keep looking up. I mean, what is it that can help you continue to endure and be steadfast and always abounding in the work of the Lord? I thank God at this age, my older age, that I haven't given up, that I haven't abandoned the call that God has given to me. And my hope for you is the same, that whatever call the Lord has placed on your life, you would continue to be faithful to that call. You would pursue that goal. You would continue to move in that direction that he has for you. And one of the matters that will help you in this process of being steadfast and immovable, always abounding in the Lord's work, is to come back to scriptures like these we've talked about again and again and again. Memorize them, call them to mind, and ask God to continue to give you the strength and endurance to do His will, to sow good seed with the expectation that much good will come in the days to come. All the best to you. I hope God does a great work through you in the coming month.